That map there is color-coded by year, the where and whens on that map. You can see the chart on the right. We're balancing that budget to provide the expected funding level over the analysis period. But because different treatments are recommended, there's also the darker blue bars showing the number of miles that we're getting each year. It doesn't exactly track to the budget. We're using many different treatments, and those treatments have their own unit costs. All this information, everything in the system, all the scenarios that we ran was provided to the village. The database was provided. So with that training that we held right here in this room, and with that database, all these scenarios, this analysis can be rerun in the future. Each year you can go in the software, kind of lock in what was done in the year before. And you can push out that analysis, push out the recommendations one additional year each year that you update the program. And again, here we're just looking at diving in, trying to see the percentage of the network for each of the years of the scenario. How is the network changing over time that we're predicting it to change with the current budget? And the moral of the story here is, by the end of that 10-year analysis, we see a lot of roads in that lowest category. We're just not able to maintain the network with that expected budget level. Again, this is consistent with that narrative that in our analysis we're seeing an underfunded roadway program with the current funding level. So to preface, this is these numbers here are not from the village; they are just samples. But what do we get from doing all this pavement management? What we found by using pavement management techniques, an agency can save money and make the pavements last longer. The goal is to stop using that worst-first approach like is on that top graph, where we wait till the road gets in really bad condition and we do something really major to that road to bring it back up to perfect. The goal is to use that bottom graph where we do things little by little. That pavement is aging. We don't wait until it gets really bad. We take care of that pavement, just like we brush our teeth, put oil in our cars. We want to use more proactive treatments when things are running smoothly. And ultimately, this will yield the best bang for your buck and make best use of taxpayer dollars. In addition to the future proactive analysis planning that we've been talking about, paver will also use the distresses that were captured in the inspection to directly estimate the amount of maintenance and the consequence or the benefit of doing that maintenance as well. And this information can be really useful for planning as well as cost estimating. So get this information to your engineers, and that will be useful to them. And a map of that maintenance plan. But again, this is directly from the distresses that we captured. So you only get this in years that you do an inspection of the road. And then finally, some takeaways from the project. Increase the use, maintain and increase the use of pavement preservation activities, crack sealing, patching, thin overlays. Keep your pavement management system updated regularly. Go into the software, enter what was done, project out that plan one extra year. Consider adding structural analysis so we can see what is the layer, the health of those underlying layers of our pavement that we can't see. And then lastly, we do know the accuracy of our predictions does erode over time. So we do recommend performing a pavement condition inspection every 3 to 5 years or so. If you do all these things, we believe it will support a healthy pavement management program for the village. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Mr. Sevier.
All right. Talk about 1 month of services.
Okay, because everybody needs to be at here.
We understand that you're going on patchwork. From the standpoint, knowing that our infrastructure, the piping under that ground, is over 50 years old, which is why we have a lot of main breaks. does it make a lot of sense for us to take these dollars and spend on trying to put patches over work that really needs to be done underground? From that standpoint, you already basically said that we didn't have enough in the budget. We were already underwater from that standpoint. So it's a focus to fix the infrastructure before we really start burning money on roads that we end up having sinkholes, like we continuously have on University Parkway. You go past that stop sign, that's the infrastructure is over 50 years old. No matter how much patchwork you put on that, eventually it's going to spring a leak. That's why we get a lot of leaks throughout town, because infrastructure. So is it worth us really putting money into a road project based on the infrastructure of the town? Okay.
I would say that the answer to that is that we should be working on the, the lowest part problem on the roadway first. Because if you fix what's on top and something's wrong underneath, your foundation is what matters.
And just, there's a sample to Abbott and Amherst Lane. Those streets have not been touched since 1982. So there's major reconstruction. Those roads get ready to cost us a couple of $1 million. They need to get done, and they're gonna get done. But that's some of the problems that we have, is the sewer systems, everything underneath. It's not a typical overlay. And I'm just learning a whole lot about it in depth now. But it's not just like we did Farmview Road where we're able to scrape it and repave. This it's almost like a surgeon going inside of a body, because there's such deep things underneath the sewer system. Those sewers don't belong to the village, they belong to aqua water. So there's another collaboration, there's another part that plays in there. So those are some of the challenges that we have, but we have not had a plan or a program where we can say, but it's that we know that these streets are going to get done this year. These streets will get done the following year. So that's why this is important, because it's been negligent for so long, but now we're trying to address those things. It's been long overdue. And Abbott Lane, we're going to get that done. It's going out to bid. If it's not out, it's been let out, you see?
No, it hasn't been let out. Sir, have you observed Abbott and Amherst? Have you been on Abbott and Amherst?
I did virtually drive those roads, and
have you evaluated this, sir?
we did.
Okay, and can you give an estimated price of that did take those two streets being done? Because I'm wondering,
I guess I'm not, I don't have the prices off the top of my head, but it was in poor condition. And it is not a road that you could do a small fix.
did you give the village an estimated cost?
Yes, that is in some. Yep.
It's in the software?
Yes.
I wonder if I can have a copy of that software.
Certainly the plan from the software.
Another reason why I asked that is because you got this teeny tiny right. I'm 68. You understand what I'm saying. I can't see that right. Can't comprehend because I'm listening to you and trying to watch it and you have these little figures and all of that. Shoot, I don't like it. I don't understand that. I need to take it and read it and try and comprehend. How can I get that?
I can email it to Village.
Manager or, yeah.
And that information is in our report.
Can I get it from you?
Yeah, I'm fine emailing to you, sure.
I'm
I
asking
can
you.
give you my email. Am I okay to email it to anybody?
And I don't need Ms. E putting her 2 cents in it. You're not the village manager no more.
I'm doing this project as director.
But I'm talking to the gentleman.
But
That's what I'm talking
No, you really.
Right, I'm talking to this gentleman here.
Let's not be confrontational. Let's not be confrontational. I should just want
What I
anyone.
want you to say information that this gentleman did a,
That wouldn't be advisable.
presentation or a workshop with. We don't know what he told me, what this people told me. I need to see it for myself. So I don't want to.
In all transparency.
I'm interested in what the village manager say, but in regards to getting the tape, or what do you call it?
Well, there's the presentation and then there's the report. And I
Okay.
believe the report is public.
So may I interject
Public.
just for some clarity? So let me first start off by saying I'm actually familiar with this program. Wait, I understand that. If I could just finish, please, Ms. Morgan.
Yes.
So I'm familiar with this. There are licensing requirements. Am I correct? And that it's not, so there's training for this. Let me say this, there's technical training for the use of it. However, as far as the presentation and the actual slides, absolutely, but the actual software itself, you have to be, there's technical training. And that you can't just, there's a certain number of names that are on that, and it's pretty much relegated to,
I'm interested in what was just.
no, absolutely this I can provide for you. Yes, I can provide that for you. The other thing that I wanted to mention that I thought was really good about this that wasn't listed there, that I just know from just experience, is that sometimes you'll have, when you go to paved streets, they'll be arguing, you know, among whether it's the residents, the board, well, how did you pick that street? Oh, you're showing favoritism because somebody lives on that street. So with this software, it's strictly subjective. It's an X-ray kind of machine, if I had to liken it. It's like an X-ray that sits on this car. It drives all throughout town, so it gives back a true survey, and it's not someone's personal opinion. It's not, it comes straight from the software, from the machine, from doing the X-ray, and it'll just tell you and determine how deep you have to go. If it needs to be completely resurfaced, it'll give you almost like a life expectancy, if you will, of the road. So I just wanted to add that clarification, but as far as that, absolutely, you can get it from me, okay?
I just want to add also, I was a little bit disturbed, and I think that's what came out with the mayor saying, because I know that he talked, and he's a couple of $1 million, when he knows that we all know that in the Mo's account, there's over $2 million. And because of now we're trying to figure out ways to move the money, remember the top we had, Mayor, I asked you, how's you gonna move that money? How's you gonna take that money out of the Mo's account? So that's when he gets out and he starts talking, like, he works with them, that it's $2 million, it's about $2 million to do, poor, trustee Bolden. I mean, she was right on that street and didn't say nothing about her residents, constituents, getting a new street when, Farmview. And that's what we play with, old favoritism.
Okay, well, I just wanted to clarify that and give just, you know, some more context to that conversation as far as that goes.
That's what we did.
Thank you.
We appreciate that.
We got a couple of questions. We got Mr. Miles.
Morgan, you mentioned asphalt. Knowing how Chicago weather affects asphalt, and asphalt requires a lot more maintenance yearly. Why are y'all considering using asphalt to fix the street?
There's a trade-off. There's no right or wrong answer to that question. Asphalt is cheaper in the short run. Concrete is more expensive in the short run, but typically has better, you know, longer life. But the downside with concrete is that when it goes very quickly. Whereas asphalt, you see it, you know, there's a slower deterioration curve. It gets worse slow.
Mrs. Stroud.
How soon can we get started on,
My name is Flagpole. To the mayor, to the board,
how soon can we get started?
we're saying what needs to be done, we know what needs to be done. And I heard someone say it hasn't been bidded out yet, but I'm hearing that it's gonna be done by the end of the year. How can that happen if it's not bidded out?
Thank you. Things not being done. What's it about, order? You said,
Oh, so I think I might have missed the first part. The question I had was, were you guys gonna be repaving everything and then doing analysis afterwards? Or are we talking just, this is a way to assess them as we go?
Okay, I
So let me just be clear, this is not, they're not paving anything.
Okay.
This is simply software to identify the worst streets. It's not, it doesn't mean that we're gonna pave anything, they're not even in charge of that. This is simply a software to be able to assess the streets on a long-term level and to be able to see things that need to be done in upcoming years. And it's more subjective.
So this is just strictly assessment only?
Yes, it's just assessment.
And wait a minute, and then the other question I have is what is the cost gonna be for this assessment? Just overall, yearly, what are we gonna be paying yearly for this assessment? Free?
It's free.
Oh, the assessment.
Okay. This was funded through CMAP.
Okay. Okay. So we're not nervous about those. That's why we're.
In other words, it didn't cost the pay.
My question is, since it was mentioned that we do have public infrastructure and that is something that may be addressed on certain roads, I don't know, I didn't get that your software does any kind of analysis on that. So my question is, will that be something that the village is gonna be also doing concurrently? Because there are some roads that probably need some under the surface stuff done before you do the top stuff. Is there any plans for that? The village, I'm asking.
I will say there's beginning conversations. So let me say, I just got here July 20th. But there are beginning conversations as far as infrastructure, things of that nature. We're looking at grants, and specifically been looking at grants and trying to plan ahead for the future. Part of that is also reviewing the budget and reallocating money and looking over to see what's feasible, what grants are available, those type of things. So I'm not gonna rush and make assumptions or make promises that can't be delivered. I'm telling you what we're doing.
And as the mayor mentioned that those are mostly owned by Aqua, is there any plans of collaborating with them?
So there's pending litigation, as I'm sure everyone's aware. So I'm not, I don't want to say the wrong thing to jeopardize things for this community. Let me be clear about that. I'm trying to be transparent, but at the same time, I have to protect this village. So there's certain things that I'm just not gonna, elaborate on as it pertains to Aqua, but I will say that I have had conversation. We have had conversations since I've been here, more than one conversation with Aqua in regards to certain things as it pertains to infrastructure and the water.
Yeah.
Yes, my question. I understand this is somewhat, like you said, an introduction for the software in order to assess and evaluate. Is that true? When it gets to a level or a stage, the work starts on Amherst. If there be locating also. I can't do anything.
I'm asking, as a resident of Amherst, I live in the cul-de-sac area where it's like speed race. Coming back and forth. Anybody that is going down Amherst, you get to the cul-de-sac, it's like Indy 500. So I'm asking, not just on Amherst, but any other street, perhaps including the top lot areas, just like we have down Blackhawk by the school. Can that be an inclusion when the surfacing is actually beginning?
So to answer your question, that's completely a possibility and plausible. I'm not sure exactly where they would be placed on Amherst, but I will tell you that that's something that we definitely look into.
You can put it right in front of my house.
And believe it or not, I have had some residents tell me that they do not want speed bumps on their block. I've had people, and it's true, I've had people say that they want them, and on the same block, A resident a few doors down told me they don't want them, so, yeah, so, you know, but we're totally open to looking into that.
I can respect those residents that don't want it, I'm one of them that does. I hope that that is respected. I like to be able to get in and out the driveway without the concern of my car. I really don't. Want to be in the car.
Ms.
So I'm
Ms.
just
Clark.
asking for it to be in the, hospital.
Understood.
Mr. Pope, you have a question next.
So this is just in the beginning stage, right? Did I understand it correctly? This is just the evaluation stage. So we don't have an idea when the work is gonna start, right? No. And I-
Go ahead. Go ahead, Scott.
No, the reason I'm asking this question is because every time I see certain people, they tell me, we're gonna get it done, we're striving right away. And then I come here now and say, this is just in the, more or less the discussion stage.
Right, we're trying to put the,
Which is,
we're putting the cart before the horse.
Yeah.
Because there's structural work that needs to be done. We're just having fun right now talking about it. Because nothing is about to be done. Because if it were, we would be talking about the structure. You have to have that structure in place first, so that whatever you're putting on top of it will hold. And right now, we haven't had no discussion about the structure. So we're just having fun. I liked your presentation. Who assigned you? Who assigned you? CMAP assigned you? You did a good job. Let's give him a hand.
Mr. Mayor, may I be recognized? Unless, is there any other questions in the audience?
Yeah, he wanted to know when, because I know the mayor just said it's gonna be done. We want to know a date on when those streets might be done.
Okay.
That's
So, okay. The mayor did yield the floor to me, right? Okay, so, Mr. Mayor, I want to stay with the point of the order of the agenda, which is the resolution adopting that report. But however, it is indeed a report, but the one thing that I want to bring to the first and foremost is that these roads have been a discussion for a very, very long time. I can remember in 2017, I said it under the previous chair that sat up here, that the day after my election in 2017, I rode down Abbott Lane and tore up my truck, a $400 job. Jim had to fix it. So it has been on the minds of many residents, and I think in the pockets of many residents, and they're pretty tired, and I don't blame them. This weekend, I had the opportunity to sit with some residents, and one, she lived on Greenbrier. And the first thing she said is that, when are you gonna pave my street? Every election, someone comes to my door and asks for my vote, but we don't pave the street. So I like what Ms. Scott said, because that was my solution, and that is to reallocate the money, excuse me, that we're getting each year. But I want to stick on the point that prior to Ms. Scott, I know when we were back on the Zoom calls, and I just, if my colleague she reflected, I did say this. I thought we had a bid out when we did Farmview. I thought we had a bid out. I was told we had a bid for Abbott Lane.
Yes.
And the numbers I remember prior to 2019, the cost to repave everything was about 200,000, maybe a little bit more. Yeah, look, I got the floor. I'm telling you, Trustee Brooks, true. It was about 200. It was not anywhere in the neighborhood of $1 million like I was told when I asked, how was it we did Farmview, but yet, and how we choose Farmview, but yet Abbott Lane and Elmhurst was not done. So, right, so, yeah, so listen. This is a resolution to adopt this report. I just want to take a look and see what streets is on there, because this is how I feel at this point. They on here? I didn't get, what no? Was that in your Dropbox, trustee? Yeah, I didn't hear somebody saying. Cause I know what the. Okay. Cause I don't have it in my Dropbox, but I'll check it, because Madam Clerk always did it. And then two, partly because Daryl has been trying to get and that's another thing, just excuse us, because our equipment is going through a transition with a new company, so everything is so messed up. But I want to say that the report, definitely, I want to just see who the streets are, and then top of that, it's in the Dropbox. I got that, but I didn't get anything else. Okay. But I want to keep in mind that if we're gonna do something at this point. Okay. I'll just double check. But let me conclude, Mayor, by saying, Mayor and Board of Trustees and General Public, my position is that this is indeed a resolution, and I think everyone has a right to be angry at this point, because like I said, this weekend, thank you so much. This weekend, you know, I had residents, and like I said, the lady on Greenbrier, I told her that I would make mention to the board that Miss Mary is very upset. And she said she don't want another person coming to her door asking for a vote if you can't get Greenbrier paid. It's just, and at this point, tonight is a resolution. We're accepting something. I'm looking here, and as I talk to you, which okay.
But remember, we don't have structure, we just had fun tonight. We just talking about it.
Right, and the solution, yeah, the solution should be what Ms. And I will concur with what Ms. Scott has said. It's time for us to reallocate the money in the right direction so that these streets get done. Because if we can do Farmview that way, she wasn't here when it was done. She wasn't here when this parking lot got done.
Go to page 46.
46. But it was a solution. If we can do this parking lot in Farmview, we can do everything else. It's a little bit of sacrifice, and in my opinion, we go back to what we were doing, is that is sacrifice a little bit before we move forward. Mr. Mayor, I yield my time, sir.
46.
I don't, you know, I'm not, once again, I try to tell anybody, our recommendation is to take the report that you just received, assess the condition of every road in town, and give the residents some type of temporary or some type of assessed timetable. Because you sit up there telling Abbott it's gonna get theirs done. You may have an opportunity to get 4 or 5 streets done at the cost of Abbott, which may be more advantageous to the village as opposed to one street. So let's not give out false promises. Let's try to go back, take a look, rank the stuff, get it out to the residents so we'll know where they kind of look on the field. So you won't be getting these questions at every meeting, because you prepare for them a list of the condition of the roads through town. And that'll help alleviate a lot of that. So I tell you what to do, just stop.
All right, David, thank you.
Yeah,
Go ahead, trustee.
yeah, and I agree, Mayor. I just seen this, hey, Graham, look. I don't know if you can see, I couldn't see, that's why I got up and sat next to Trustee Lewis. Ladies and gentlemen, almost every street is red or yellow. I'm taking the word of my finance person tells me, trustee, have a hard conversation. I need to have a conversation controls every red or yellow. Very few is, very few. The ones right here, this is free, we just did it, common sense.
Yeah, so.
So it's time to address,
Just get them.
yeah. Yeah,
Won't it
yeah.
be cheaper just to go ahead and get them all done?
$50 million.
Right, that's right. David is right. That's about 60, yeah, we're talking over. We gonna need help if we do that.
I give a second, trustees, trustee have the floor.
Yes, let me also say, the Madam Village Manager, Beck Bloom at the time did emphasize the structural damage that was on Abbott and there was on Amherst. So, you know, at this point, I agree with, I heard it from the audience, we need to have a serious conversation. And yes, it will cost David is right, it will be 60 million to do all of them. And right now, we don't have 60 million, you know, so, thank you, trustee for, because, yeah, this is all red, and I think this is something we need to have a conversation, but tonight is a resolution.
Just ask for it, it's all city agenda.
That's it.
Just discussion.
That's what I'm saying, it's just a resolution.
I should gotta do the same thing with the structure. I'm stuck on the structure. Because I don't understand how you're gonna even start doing any paving without the structure.
But there's, it's not paving, it's not just paving, Ms. Lawson, it's completely reconstructing of the whole road. We all understand that, and that's what our engineers. Yeah, it's not just coming in straight and putting in no road, absolutely not, no, absolutely not.
I'm looking at,
One second, Ms. Morgan, I'll see Ms. Morgan first, if she had her hand up, then I'll come back.
Quick question, are we still, because I'm not sure, are we still paying the golf course? Are we still giving them like $100,000? What are we paying them every month? No, that's a question I'm having because, no, this is a serious question because if we need funds, that's the first place it needs to come from.
Yeah, we have,
Can we say stop that and do one road for 100,000? We can do one road a month. No, I'm serious.
We can have that discussion like the manager said. The budget, there is some, things that need to be reallocated. And also motions can be made for those things that when it comes to the time of, when we have our budget hearing and so forth. So.
Mrs. Morgan.
I have to ask about this, PCI. This PCI says, Amherst and Abbott is in good condition. Wait, according to page 46, I heard somebody over there, how about 46? Your street is in good condition, trustee Bowles.
That's not what.
That's not what it is.
But I'm wondering, this, paper, that's not. Yeah. That's why I asked questions. That's why I'm asking questions. So I can get a better understanding. It says good condition. Good condition. No. It says Abbott. What is that?
It's so late, wanna get in this one.
There's a listing of all the streets in this plan. What you do is look at the street and see how it's rated. It can be rated from 0 to 100. The average of a street that's in good condition runs 50 to 80. We're just the opposite. Village is just the opposite.
Ms. Taylor.
Yeah.
Just to answer that, according to the information that the gentleman gave us.
Maybe Ms. Taylor, I can't hear you.
According to the information that the gentleman gave us, I believe, unless I'm mistaken, you said that our overall rating was between, PCI was between 50 and 60. So if we're talking about overall within the village. So just going back to that, what average rated good or bad or whatever, but like the whole overall condition is between 50 and 60. So that says like, Trustee Brooks is saying, this is a severe situation.
So I don't know how to just kind of like break it up, so like make me understand it. Okay, so, pardon me?
No, that's it.
Am I not making sense? Because I need to explain myself a little bit more. Okay, so that's just really the bottom line to it all. It's gonna have to be, have a thorough evaluation and assessment. Because between 50 and 60, like, Trustee was saying, that's yellow, red, whatever else, caution, stop, something. Okay? Yeah, thank you.
We didn't move forward yet.
No, we still on the same.
Okay, so, yeah, I just went through it. I see what Ms. Morgan is speaking about. So the PCI though, is it simply, let's say, is it easy for the structure of when they do the roads over, is that?
That's what everything is done, yeah.
Okay, because, yeah, it kind of makes sense because I'm looking at some of the streets here. I even said Trustee Jenkins Court failed. Yeah, I just mentioned, Greenbrier failed. So I think, when we speak of Amherst, that it's capable, because like you can drive down it, but it's not like Greenbrier. But they would be able to do the construction. Right, so I just wanted to, some people would like things explained more in a simple term. And so from what I'm seeing with the green, this is from Miss Millie, the green, what you're seeing, Miss Millie, is that the street is easier for them to work and repair compared to the ones you see in like Trustee Jenkins Street. It is in a gray, it failed. No one should really be driving on it. It got ditches. Which one?
I'm looking at, I'm interested in Abbott because when they did, I'm stuck on it. When they did Farmview.
Right.
We didn't understand why they did it. There was only a small part of Farmview that should have been done. All of us thought that your street should have been done, and you didn't say a word. Didn't say nothing. I mean,
Have I not been fighting with Amherst?
Absolutely.
Amherst and Abbott should have been done.
That Abbott was worried.
And you know, when you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 votes, I'm sure if you had talked with them, they would have said, I. And they would have got your street done.
She was told she was next. Yeah, she was told she was
And I
next.
still feel, and anybody else that go up and down that street. And also Amherst and Abbott. Those two streets are the worst streets. They should have been the first street to be done.
Burn
And
them
when
far
certain-
behind.
Well, I thought they
managers and the mayor said that it would be done.
right.
I'm sitting there waiting. Haven't seen
So
nothing.
are they gonna be done? Abbott and Amherst, I did it every day.
Please.
And I said the same thing.
Let me just say this.
One second, Missy, let me finish that guy. Go ahead, Missy.
First of all, in order to, we knew Abbott was expensive, street was expensive. There were, once we had an estimate, an overview done, there was sinkholes, there were infrastructural problems, and it was clear that patching was not going to solve the problem. So we got an estimated cost, it exceeded $2 million. And I don't want to put it public because you'll be giving information out to bidders. But the estimate exceeded $2 million. And we're talking about from over west to Black House, all the way over east to the curve. But the point is, that street, and I know the people on there's some people coming out of their homes are afraid that they would back up into those sinkholes. So we tried to do some simple asphalting, some pavements to get it, but it exceeded $2 million. And we were building a fund to get that $2 million. And the dollars are still that we have are in those funds. But it's gonna depend on that bid price. It's gonna depend on our bid, because it's so much money. The board had talked about phasing. It was recommended by the engineer that we fast track it or phase it. If we phased it for this year with the estimate we get, phase it, if you know anything about, the plants close their doors November 1, which means that prior to November 1, we would have had to complete a phase, and we couldn't open it back up until 2023, April 1. So we can complete a phase 1, but there's no way the entire street can be completed in 1 month, and that's all.
Mayor, I didn't see Nacky Road on here. And, yeah, the reason why I definitely put Nacky Road is that, or I'm suggesting Nacky Road, if you ever drove down, or Nacky Road from Western, I say, what street?
Yeah, that's what.
No, side street. Right, as you come in, apparently, Creek or somebody put everything, or from this point beyond.
Belongs to the village.
So,
From Homestead going east to Nacky Road, that's what most of the.
well, no, for Nacky Road itself, I didn't see it on the list. So, I mean.
Oh, that's Love's Lane you're talking.
Love's Lane, yes, from Love's Lane, all the way down, to Old Money Road. It says, yeah, in the picture, they post a sign that this street is maintained by the Village of University Park. Look, I know we wouldn't spend no money there, but I knew the Public Works Director, Biden was trying to fill those holes up. Now, it was cleaned up and it's messed up again. But my point is that how can we, actually, it's like Miss E. Western in Harvey, that's what fears me, is the activity that's over there. However, how can we deal with that? Because that is a road where the farmers and people from Creek still use it. There are bird watchers over there, as silly as it sounds. You know, they even have their own pool over there, the birds. So are we gonna fill, or how are we gonna fill, Ms. Scott, or if we ever get rock, dirt, something that needs to fill Nacky Road up? It's not here, but I think it's just something we need to address, because at the end of the day, Creek, you know, it's our road. You know, I'm just bringing it up. It's not on.
Then you're talking about Central Avenue, you talk about Hamilton Avenue.
Yes.
Up to a certain point, I think it comes up to.
It's not all, because I know that whenever on that south end, Old Monique, as they come in, I noticed whoever the farmer, whoever owns that, he took care of that little piece. But as you go behind, back towards Love's Lane, it's all potholes, and then my point is that, say if we have a call back there, or our SUVs are not gonna make that trip as bad as it is, you know? So I just said, I didn't see it on the list, but that's one street that they definitely said belongs to University Park, that maybe if the time comes, or if we have extra rock, extra gravel, want to do something about it. I don't think you've been back there, Ms. Scott, but it's something that I think is fixable. But I don't think we don't need to put any money into it.
Yeah,
It's pass, I want to see if we can make it passable.
And Jolly as well.
And you're also.
Drolly too.
Absolutely right, trustee, about, National Road. And, we're gonna all study this, and, when we all get together, then we'll talk about it. But can we go to the next, subject?
Yeah, so yes, I'm in agreement that we put this on the agenda.
Does anyone else, she want to run the meeting now? Does anyone else have anything to say about these streets and these roads?
I will say this in regards to Nacky Road, I will get with the Director of Public Works and we'll see what alternatives we can put down there, but I'm gonna go over there with him and we'll look at that.
And just for the record, we're getting a lot of calls from our industrial park partners, Joseph Court, Central, Nacky, Dryly, Hamilton. So, but you know, that's a good conversation that we're having because we weren't doing roads for some time, so we wouldn't be having this conversation if we were, so this is good. Mrs. Morgan, just hold tight now, we're gonna get to every item on the agenda, please. Let me run the meeting, okay? That's what I'm here for.
We need to go to, conversations of elected officials. Increase.
Hey, thank you guys, travel safe. We're gonna be going into the storm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. We moved item F51B. Yes, ma'am. We're gonna move item, let's take the consensus of the board. Are we gonna move item 51A to the regular agenda to make a resolution out of it, which is CMAP paving?
Yes.
Okay. Madam Clerk, that's gonna move forward. That would be the agenda item. Okay, item 51B, we're gonna just table that for right now.
You need to hear what the residents have to say about that.
Wait a second.
Point of order, Mayor.
Item
We're gonna do it. Let's take-
51B,
Let's take it. If someone, we're gonna have a motion, let's have a motion.
because she's not gonna be here. That's the reason we can't take it. That's 51B. 51B, look at 51B. That's the next item on the agenda.
One I got.
An ordinance increasing the compensation of elected officials. That's 51C. Right.
No, I have 51C.
Well, yours is wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm gonna go off of.
Yeah, this one says, September 20th, rescheduled. 51B discussion of an ordinance.
Okay, well, no, I'm looking at the one that was tabled. I mean, it was rescheduled, but the agenda item should not have been tabled. So 51B is off the item, that agenda. So we'll go to the next one, yeah.
Right, I don't see the U-Haul.
Yeah, that's on the old agenda. Since then, they asked to be taken off. That was for a rental spot. So 51C does move up, no problem whatsoever.
So forget
So-
about what we got on this side.
All right.
This is right, this is.
So item 51C, according. 51B, I'm looking at the old agenda, the one that was taken. So we're gonna move that. 51B would be on there.
That's right.
Okay, no, yes, that's fine, but on this old one, it says 51B. Yeah, okay, so item 51B is discussion order increasing the compensation of elected officials. Okay, this is it. Okay, I put this on the agenda, and the intended purpose was just to reinstate or repeal what was there before and bring everything as it was 4 years ago when Trustee McMullen was talking about this compensation, because he was told there was gonna be something different. And the only other people that accepted the raise were the past mayor and the Trustee Wilson. So what this was for, just put the compensation back where it was prior to us coming in. And that's good. Let me see, who is first? All right.
Okay, regardless of what was passed, was passed. Okay. And I want to know, is this raise a performance-based raise? An increase that you're asking? And if it's performance-based is based on some form of evaluation. And if it's for performance-based, it's also, we used to get a survey that used to come out in the community that used to give us opportunity to rank what we felt our officials were doing and how well they were doing, how well they were not doing. And I'm not sure, maybe I missed that survey and I didn't have that opportunity. So, I'm sorry. So I want to know whether it's performance-based, and if it is, where's the documented evidence that it should be a raise or an increase?
Pull it up right now. It's not a performance-based thing, Mrs. Taylor, just to answer your first question, okay? And in reality, in order to get things done in this community, no matter what people say, you have to put in the time to do the work. And I think that everyone should be compensated for their time. We're not asking, and if you look around all the other municipalities in this region, the average salary is pretty much because either you can do it this way, you can look at salary. Some trustees have salary, some have insurance, some have other levels of compensation that equal up to it. So the repealing of an ordinance that was done in 2017, it stated that the mayor's salary was $32,000, and it was $7,000 for the liquor commission. That's what it was currently in the last budget in 2017, if I'm not mistaken. So now we're looking today, now no one knows that all those salaries were taken away from the incoming. We know that. From the incoming board, but those other people that complained and hollered and screamed about it also inherited and took advantage of the full raise. And that's back as well. So I'm not putting out there for anything, and whatever the board decides is fine and dandy. But I'm not afraid to stand up here and say that our trustees work extremely hard. They spend an exorbitant amount of time that it takes to get things done in this community. I know myself, if I was not semi-retired, we wouldn't have half the things that we have in this community. There's major development going on that hasn't happened in this community in over 50 years. Conversations about streets being repaid. I start my day customarily, probably sometimes at 7 o'clock, sometimes they end at midnight. But it's the sacrifice I decided to make, and my wife supported that because I have a passion to serve this village. And the work that's being done takes time to be in there. It's hard to do it from a part-time basis. If you say it's a part-time thing, that's BS. If you really think that someone's gonna get this job done doing it part-time and going to their job and saying how fabulous that their job is and what they do, and they come to 2 meetings a month, it does not pan out. We wouldn't have an Amazon, we wouldn't have a Ryerson Steel, we wouldn't have $34.9 million for the veterans. We wouldn't be talking about getting streets repaid, we wouldn't have economic growth and development. We're doing a whole lot. So when you look at that, somebody else asked the question, well, where is this money going to come from? What's wrong with the head tax fund? The head tax fund brings in over $400,000 annually every year, been commingled into the general fund. And like Trustee Brooks and Ms. Scott agreed earlier, that sure, money should be reallocated and put in the right place. It's fine and dandy. But if you look at the stats, and we've done all the stats and checks around surrounding communities and see exactly what's what, it's fine and dandy. But it's, to put it out there is to put it out there, okay?
Could you read what you want to propose? Because no one knows exactly what
Okay.
you're saying.
Sure.
And the balance of the head tax.
It pays about 410, 420 annually.
Okay, I said down. How much is that?
It comes in annually, it comes in what, it comes in every year. It comes in all the time.
Yeah, I found it.
Find it, Trustee Brooks.
Yes, sir. Under section 2, the village president, the mayor, it starts with, number 1 is, shall receive the salary of $35,000. 2, the liquor commissioner shall receive the salary of $10,000. The 3 would be the cannabis commissioner, a salary of $25,000.
Right now, let me stop for a second.
Okay.
There is no cannabis commissioner. Right
Correct.
now, if this is a municipality that has a dispensary, cultivation center, infusion processing, or anything of that nature, the cannabis company is just like the liquor commissioner. They have to have a cannabis commissioner according to the state of Illinois laws. But that does not come on the municipality. Customarily, the dispensaries or the vendors pay those salaries. So that was just on there, just a future projection. So Trustee Brooks, would you do me a favor and just go back to what it was like in 17? And that's basically what the whole target goal was.
And this,
Well, no,
then, right, and then,
no, I mean, no, what was proposed
B
is
would be,
rebuilding back I mean, reinstating on what it was prior to us coming in.
Like you said, the past is the past.
No,
We wanna hear what
you're
is
asking
proposed.
me for what's gonna be proposed. I am asking us to repeal what is in place and put it back to where it was initially. That's what's being proposed, Mr. Austin. That's what's being proposed. Put
They're
it back-
saying they don't know what that number is. They're
Oh,
asking
okay.
they don't know.
Okay.
Number 4.
So then so section 2B, the clerk will read 30,000 and the trustee.
Hold on, trustee Brooks, before you're done with the mayor was gonna be at 35,000, you said? Proposed.
Go back.
35
The budget,
plus.
oh,
Right.
but when I remember, oh, they got paid.
I think what we're going, what,
So from when I got in, I'll say this. When I got in, this is what happened. Because there was a repeal and the law says, even if we pass this, the trustees or the officials who sit in this seat after 2023, like trustee Lewis, trustee McFadden and myself, we would still receive the salary of the $1,000 a month. But the new trustees who would come in, they would receive $25,000 a year. And in order for the three of us, in order to receive that $25,000 a year, we would have to win our elections in 2025 because state law prohibits us to give ourselves raise, especially in the middle of a term in office. We can't do that. So I just read it off. So for the trustees and for the mayor, and if I'm not mistaken, if there was a cannabis commissioner, meaning that if
if we have a dispensary, one of those functions of cannabis.
the commissioner receives $25,000. So in saying that, I'll go ahead to my opinion about it. I did not like it when I sat up here and I knew that I was getting only after taxes, I take home $853. Trustee McMullen, who both of us thought that we would receive the same amount of money that colleagues on the board were receiving. And if I'm not mistaken, Trustee McMullen even yelled it out. Some of y'all getting $1,600 a month. So my thing is this, is in my position, in my shoes, we are part-time officials. I think we all sat here and we do have the good question, what have we done lately? We have operated as legislators, but the village is not satisfactory. We have to make sure before we even get to that point of amount of money, and I got a comparison that I got today, and I would like to thank the person who sent it. A lot of the comparisons I can understand, like you see ALSA, the mayor receives $80,000 a year. Country Club Hills receives $33,000 a year. Those gentlemen are full-time mayors. Oh, I'm sorry. I missed that. Getting older, ain't I? I'm missing that one. I'm sorry. It looks like little ants at this point. However, your part-time mayors in these places, it clearly says the managerial, it is managerial, such as Beecher, that mayor receives $4,900. Homewood, $3,900. I didn't see that. Moni mayor receives $13,000. Let me go more to those who are around us. I don't see Creek. I don't know what Einhorn get. However, I see that Park Forest mayor, he receives $20,000 a year. I don't see anything else. And when it comes to the trustees, Beecher, 3,000, Country Club Hills, where my bosses were, they get 41,000 a year. As we scoot down Homewood, their trustees get 2,000 in compensation. Lansing, 13,000, Matson, 15,000, Monique, 4,800, you all pay us 12,000 a year. Park Forest, 7,500 a year for their trustees. You know, the only thing that I will say is that I thought that if you are up here, and I talked to some people, is that if you are doing it, maybe putting it into an IRMF, I think that's the most you would ever do. If you have served up here 2 terms or more.
Well, actually, yeah, IMRF can actually go as soon as you start, you know, actually, it all depends on the discretion of the mayor, because when I was a trustee for those 12 years, Al had everybody in IMRF that wanted to participate. But the law changed.
But the law changed. Right, right. So that's my point, is that if you serve it to that capacity, you know, putting into it, but you know, I look, we don't have any money. I just think at this point, it was one of those hot discussions. Many of you all were not here. Trustee McMullen, you know, I don't put it out there for him, but you know, if he's able to tell it and he's feeling well these days, Trustee McMullen will tell you in a heartbeat that he thought it was very unfair that when this was voted on, that for 2 years, if I've seen him tell another trustee, it's 2:00 in the morning, we're talking about all these lawsuits, time to go home. I'm only getting $853,000 while you sit down on the other end getting $1,600 a month. So let's look at that kind of puts a divide, and it's not fair to even the public officials, the 3 of us is here, I'm just being honest. But at the end of the day, this is a part-time position. I always felt if you want more money, go take your ass, go get a job. And with that, I yield my time.
Okay, Ms. Dilworth.
I still have a question. So, like you were stating, trustee Brooks, about the trustee salaries and then their salaries in our surrounding community. They're pretty much half of what you all are receiving right now. Not only is that, their population is high. So they have more people, they have more businesses, and you're asking for more money to be asked you all that big fees. If you actually get money, take the taxpayers' money, to me, you all be considered a thief. Because you know you're not doing the work for the money. No, we're not saying that you can't get a phone call, you talk back from some trustee. Absolutely not. I don't get responses. I don't think there as a trustee. You are not working for this money. So what you're getting right now is way more than what you should get right now. When they got that raise in 2017, they should have never got it then. They should have never got that one then. That was too much. We didn't approve it, but we had people on the board that voted for it because they wanted some more money. Didn't deserve it then. I ain't seen a report. Y'all can come here, all these different meetings you all go to. You don't come back with a report, no type of analysis. You do nothing. From my standpoint, the trustees are not doing their legislative job in order to get any of the money that they're receiving right now. I don't think they deserve it.
Well, and I'd like to add on to that.
Especially when all the other communities have more things, more people, and they're getting less, and they're still getting a job.
Make it like a ghost town, ain't nothing here. Right. You guys should be getting a dime.
Y'all talking about raises, y'all still
Don't make sense.
Okay.
Mrs. Service, can I hear? Go ahead, Mrs. Service.
No, he's still a taxpayer's money. That's how it's considered.
Okay.
Whoever approves this.
What I wanted to point out, when Trustee Brooks was speaking about the other communities, what they're getting. Managerial form of government is different than mayoral, right? And some of those that's getting paid more are mayoral. We have managers that we're paying a good salary for, And, the economic development that we're paying a good salary for, I don't know what your role was in getting all these numbers, but it really should be the people who we're paying for that. Because I think if you put yourself in a position of being the one that's the lead of it, yeah, you're gonna expect you should be getting paid more. But that's why I believe, step back, the people who are getting paid for that should be doing it. Then you won't feel like you're being underpaid for all the work over the place. Amen.
Okay, Mrs. Lawson. Ms. Vanessa, I'm sorry.
First of all, we don't have the money. I don't think Mrs. E gonna find money for y'all. Secondly, to ask for extra money, and we can't, I have to agree with Don. You can't even reach a trustee. I was lucky yesterday to reach a trustee. You call a trustee, the voicemail haven't been set up. One of the trustees' phone says restricted. It's a village number, but it's restricted. You can't even reach it. I send out emails to trustees, never ever get a response. And does that raise go to the clerk too? Because we can't get one FOIA back. I don't see where a raise can come from there. So, I mean, we can't get cooperation from our elected officials, but yet you all want raises? That is not fair to us. That is not fair to us. It really is an insult.
It's an insult.
I can see if you were transparent, if you were trying to provide residents with information. We have all kinds of awkward situations going around here. I'm on the phone all day. You want to pay somebody? Pay me. I've been working awkward for the residents. I've done more work in trying to get residents to understand different things because they can't get answers from trustees. And some trustees have told residents, don't call them. Or if you call me again, I'm not answering. So with that type of attitude toward the residents, you want to raise? That is an insult. When are you gonna wake up? That is fair. That's a part of corruption, if I have to say it myself. That's built-in corruption. To ask for a raise where there's no money to give a raise, and then you're not even doing the work. You're not even meeting 12 months. Locked us out of the meeting. Why? And didn't even share the information with us. How dare you?
And I'm the trustee that she talked to yesterday, so I do answer my phone. You took me out, you don't even answer your phone.
All right, let's go. Let's go.
Wait a minute.
Go ahead.
Let me explain. What I am embarrassed about is we are sitting here as a board. Now, we are actually disrespecting the residents.
That's right. That's what I'm saying. She just.
And so the thing about this is that you ask for a raise. 15 minutes prior to this, we don't have money to fix our streets.
Right.
We don't have money to give our children $8,000.
Right.
We have a closed pool. These are things that we are looking at day, but we're on planes and we're traveling. And we're going to different places. We're getting ready to go to the League of Cities in Kansas. That makes absolutely no sense. And the thing about this is the residents, the taxpayers, the stakeholders are suffering. They're suffering. And then you come in here and you ask them for a raise. You don't answer a phone that they pay for. You don't have a cheap phone. You don't have a little flip phone. You have an iPhone, whatever, 14 or 13, whatever. You have an iPad. You have all of these luxuries, but you don't have the respect to give to the community. I'm sitting here as a trustee and I'm watching this and it makes absolutely no sense. And then you have the audacity to argue with a resident that has to vote you back in office. Who does this? And see, wait, it's not about your opinion. It's a time and a place for everything. You should, but you know what? It wasn't the time. It wasn't the time, because if you are pig eating from the trough with all of these residents out here with nothing at their homes, in front of their homes is ragged, the street on your block is ridiculous, and then you ask the residents for a raise? How dare you? I'm embarrassed to sit here, and I'm just telling you, I'm just saying, if you ask me, I'm just saying in general. I'm just saying, you, excuse me, but I'm just saying this. I'm gonna say this, to say this. It makes absolutely no sense. Everybody is having a good time, and the residents are suffering. The children are suffering. The seniors have nowhere to go. Where is the senior center? Where is the farm? What are we gonna do? The pool is still full of water. The children are still unsafe. You have trees that need to be cut down, and the list goes on and on and on and on. And then we have the audacity to ask people to give us more money. We should be thoroughly embarrassed and saying we're sorry to even put something like this on an agenda when we're not doing what we need to do as a board. This is ridiculous.
Well,
and let's go back. Don't cut me off.
No,
And then let's go all the way back to us not being fair with our democracy. Do you know that I didn't, and I'm gonna speak openly and to the public. I'm gonna go all the way there, because let me explain. The village manager was selected, and I've had the opportunity to get to know her and things like that. But prior to her selection, we had someone here, we had to go on executive session. They didn't come back. So myself and my colleague, we had never met her, didn't know her, hadn't seen her resume, I'm sorry, and she was voted into office, and I had to respectfully decline. But the thing about this is as a board, we have locked out our residents, our taxpayers, we've locked them out. And I sat outside this building during COVID, in the cold, and asked them to open up the doors, and they didn't. Are you kidding me? And then you wait till a public meeting and say, well, oh, we need 35,000, we need 25,000. When are you gonna do $35,000 or $25,000 worth of work? When are you gonna get up and do something? If you don't answer your phone and you don't see all of the things that are going on, when are you gonna do safe passage for the children? Yes, we had a trustee out there, but it should have been more than just him out there. We all should have been out there making sure that our children are safe. It makes absolutely no sense. Have you came in here and said, well, let's give away food? People are struggling. COVID has taken a toll on everyone. Home, people in their homes, they're not doing well. They're not. And then you come in here and say, well, you know, I want some more money, and besides that, I'm gonna put in a park district and tax you there too. So you're gonna give us a double whammy. And what about the seniors that are living on restricted income? What about that? What about the single parents? I come from a mom who raised me alone and put me through Catholic grammar school and high school on a limited amount of money. So what about all of these different things that are going on? And then you ask these people to give extra money? Are you kidding me? You should be ashamed and embarrassed.
Well, trustee, you have your opinion, and you know, you're invited to just about everything that goes on.
And I don't go because I don't feel that it's
Well,
necessary.
okay, well, you know, and I understand that's what, well, she might have a conscience, but I'll tell you one thing for sure, that you're not gonna learn anything in the neighborhood. You need to go out and build resources and meet people. And
So $600,000 that I brought you, put your name on.
so basically,
don't talk about resources because I went and got $600.
I haven't seen your name on anything, trustee.
You read Senator Patrick Joyce's media press. How dare you?
This is not, I mean, this is just a discussion, so we're not gonna get all hyped up about this.
So listen, can I?
Tell us that Sandra King got that money.
Okay.
Yeah, but that is the truth. Sonia got that 600. You can't claim that, Mayor.
I'm not claiming anything because
Because she got it. So the
What-
credit goes to her, you gonna pay all that money.
I won't debate with you guys. You know what? Anything that's gonna be good for our community, I'm all for it. Go ahead, Mrs. Walker.
So, okay, so my question is, because now I'm hearing, I thought you guys were acting collectively as a board. So, Trustee Lewis, do you think you deserve a raise? Do you want a raise?
You don't have enough money.
Okay, what about, Trustee Bowden, what about you?
No, Billy.
It's a big fat no for me. That's why I said, no, you heard me asking nothing. I had suggested that we not put it on, put it on, it was put back on, it's on before, and I took it off. I said, this is not, we don't have.
Okay.
The answer is no,
Okay, what about you, Trustee?
we don't have.
Okay, what about you? Well, I heard you, you said no. What about you? Wait.
So, go ahead, Madam Clerk, and then we're gonna kill this, and let's keep on moving.
I just want to know.
Hold it, 1 minute, I have some order here. One person at a time, please, now stop, I'm not, Mrs. Morgan, please.
I'm still talking, I was still talking.
Thank you, Mrs.
I just
Walker.
wanted to know who on the board wants to raise.
This was a conversation just to have out in the open thing, to be transparent. This is this is a conversation.
So, okay, so it seems like we don't need to discuss, so that's over with because we don't need to discuss that anymore, because that, they don't want raises. So we're done with that conversation.
Just a second, Madam Clerk.
To answer you, Ms. Morgan, when I ran for reelection in 2019, I took a cut and I knew of over $6,000. No, I did not ask for a raise. I felt that it was not the time, but I took a cut in pay to run as a servant of the people.
Very good.
So, okay, so we're gonna close this item out, we're gonna move to the next item. No, take it off. Item 51C. Go ahead, David.
Just something to kind of think about in the future. I remember when I first took the job as a village manager. When I took the job, I took it for a certain salary. Well, I started off as the finance director, then became the village manager. When I got here, we were under FBI investigation. So I took 60, 70 hours a week to get this village to run right when I first started. I did it for about 3 or 4 years, did it straight. I didn't come back to the board and say, you know what, I need more money. Because when I took the commitment for the job, I took it because it was a job that I wanted to do.
Right.
So I looked at many of jobs, but this was the job that I chose that I wanted to do. And I knew the salary when I chose it. So therefore, I took that job and I worked with it. And regardless of the amount of work that's going to come your way, you basically have committed to that salary and you're willing to respect those consequences. So keep that in mind. So then when you sit around and you say, well, the structure of the village is a managerial form of government. You are a part-time legislative board. The reason why you're there is because you allow the village manager to hire department heads that can do the job that you need to legislate. So when you sit down and you say, well, I got an economic development person, the economic development person should be bringing you to the table at the time that the deal needs to be signed. Not at the time that the negotiation starts, but by the time it needs to be signed. Your village manager should be at the table to keep you informed of the things that's going between the economic development person and you. And that's the reason why we have these things in structure. These department heads, if you don't have adequate department heads, then right, you're gonna work your butt off. Which means the problem is not with you, it's with the people that you have in place. So when you start dealing with the people that you have in place, then you can effectively do the job and the dollars are not an issue. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Item 5.1C, a discussion memorandum of agreement between the Village of University Park and the University Park Youth Baseball Organization. It's a conversation. It's a conversation. I ain't afraid to have a conversation. It's okay. Okay, here we are, item 5.1C. This is a memorandum of agreement between the Village of University Park and the University Park Youth Baseball Organization. Yes, go ahead, Madam Clerk.
So, which one, Clark? I can't hear you.
Do you have a copy?
Yes.
Alternative number 4.
Trustee Jenkins, can you please give that, memorandum of understanding to?
No, I have it.
Oh,
You have a copy?
yes. Well, okay. So, okay, let me just start back. Let me start by saying, so, wait on there. Okay, Mayor. Okay, so first of all, I asked for a memorandum. I asked the board to vote on and to sign a memorandum of understanding, which is something that the baseball board decided is needed for a village, because every year we keep having the same discrepancies. People don't know what needs to be done, and things are not done in a timely manner per the village. So we were asking for you guys to accept some responsibility and actually put something into place that's going to say that you will do the work every year, what is needed. So I've given this to you guys at least 3 times now and haven't had a response back. I've been speaking to the attorneys. What's your last name? Oh, Wargo. Nice to meet you, Wargo. Okay, so I've been speaking to Mr. Wargo, and you know, the village has come back with something that's completely not what we asked for. So I wanted to first, let's go back to why we're here, okay? So the memorandum is a list of dated items needed by the baseball organization on a yearly basis and asks for a commitment from the village to complete these tasks in a timely manner. So what I would like to do is read what we submitted to the village first, because I'm not understanding why the village is having a hard time. So I wanted to discuss item by item, and for you guys to let me know what you disagree with, what you don't like, why are we not going forward with the one that I submitted? Okay, so it says, between the Village of University Park, Will and Cook Counties, Illinois, and University Park Baseball Organization, the memorandum of understanding sets for the terms and understanding between the Village of University Park and University Park Youth Baseball Organization as it relates to the yearly baseball season. The background. For the last 2 years, the village manager has been unsure of the baseball field's usage, amenities, buildings, pre, during, and after field maintenance and renovations. The purpose and the goal is for this understanding will ensure clear boundaries of what baseball has access to, dates of baseball usage, and capabilities to improve and assist in getting the field up to league standards prior to season start. Also to inform that UPYBO will be authorized to store baseball equipment during the off-season and will always remain in each field's storage room or area. This form is to be enforced and utilized every year. The village's responsibilities prior to April 1st. So these are what we have, this is what we're gonna need done prior to April 1st. To prepare all 3 fields and surrounding common areas, outfield line cut with weed and fertilizer placement, infield tilled and leveled with old dirt being removed, place 70-30 sand pebble mix to be applied, fields to be smoothed out and leveled, infield and dugout weeds to be trimmed and completely removed, bathroom facilities or porta potties to be in place at each field and kept throughout the entire season. 1 dumpster and 2 garbage cans to each field to be kept for the entire season. Ensure that Craig Park's concession stand and bathroom have running and working water. Palmer Field has portable field lighting. Garbages and dumpsters will be emptied once a week. So these were all things prior that we could not get the village to do, which is common things that the village should be doing. Like we shouldn't even have to ask for this, but we feel like it's necessary because we keep having to ask for it and it's not done. So that's why we just literally took that out and put it in writing so that you guys can see. Okay. Now, we said the UPYBO, which is the baseball organization, our responsibilities would be prior to April 1st, would be to provide the village with the dates of usage, which is always April 1st through August 31st. Provide the village with the game schedules, sign out the keys via Public Works and return them after use. Keep each infield and surrounding areas clean. Will provide weekly maintenance and upkeep of each infield throughout the entire season. Normally, that's a task that's done by the village too, but we would go ahead and agree to do that because we know that sometimes the village is low on funds, so that would be what we would be willing to do as an organization. Okay, now reporting and evaluating effectiveness. The Board of Trustees and the village attorney will evaluate effectiveness and ensure that all tasks are completed by the time in which they are to be completed. Funding. Any expenses incurred at Regal Farm by UPYBO as that is a part of the village's responsibility will be reimbursed from the Regal Farm grant or from funding. Any expenses incurred at Palmer Park or Craig Park by UPYBO is a part of the village's responsibility and we will be reimbursed from the village funds. These above funds will not be included as a part of the $6,000 reimbursement previously put in place. This will be additional. Duration, the MOU is at will and may be modified for mutual consent of authorized officials from UPYBO and the Village of University Park. So does anybody on the board have anything that they see wrong with anything on that or have a problem with any of those items that are asking from the village?
So are you looking at, Ms. Walker, there are 2 different alternatives, 1 and 2. Which one were you looking at? Sounds like you're looking at 2.
She just read.
Her proposal, right? But you didn't look at any of the alternatives.
Well, I did an alternative, but pretty much tried to mirror what.
Right.
The organization.
Yes.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
So the one in the packet that you had is the alternative one. And I would say I have most of the stuff in there except for the reporting and evaluating the effectiveness. The Board of Trustees and Village Attorney will evaluate effectiveness in here that all tasks are completed. Also funding, I did not have that, any funding incurred by Regal Farm by as part of the village responsibility would be
reimbursed from the Regal Farm grant once it's received. And I also don't, any expenses incurred at Palmer Park and Craig Park by UPYBO as part of the village responsibility will be reimbursed by village funds. I don't have that one, and the reason I don't have that, that was something that I wanted to, if the board wanted that, I'm fine, but that I have, it's a bit open-ended in doing the contract, and I just had some concerns, and obviously we're here to discuss.
Yeah, I have some concerns too. That's why I didn't want to, because what you have is not at all what we're asking. It's not it. It's all this other stuff. It has nothing to do
Understood, and I'm
with this. Okay, so my question is, if we can go back to the original one that I sent, and I wanted to hear from the board and actually discuss each item to see if there was any flaws in it or something that you did not agree with. And also, I wanted to say, I did speak to the new village manager, Scott, about this, and Matt, if you can you please describe, because you've done this baseball field work in the past, right? You haven't at all. So prior villages, you never touched it. So village manager, I know that you were saying that he may have had experience with that and that this would be something that would be able to be managed, the things that I had
No, so
asked for.
in saying this, there were questions that I had. When I first came in office, within, I think, a week or two, you had reached out to me and you were requesting reimbursement. I was not going to release funds for that amount because I need to look at everything, including the state of our village, so I didn't feel that that was responsible. The other thing was there were certain questions that I had. For one, there's no cap on the reimbursement. So you could sit up and say, we did $40,000 of work and we have to reimburse you if we sign that agreement. The other thing was that the amount that you gave me for reimbursement, I believe was around, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it was in the ballpark of around 14,000, somewhere around there, 13. And then the additional 1,000 something. Then you also wanted the additional monies that's allocated in as a line item in the budget. Is that correct?
Different, totally different. Remember we had that discussion?
Let me say this.
Separate.
It's separate, but it is the same because when I asked you, is this money gonna be deducted from that? Your reply was no.
Right, because it's two different things.
It's two different things, but it's not. It's still going toward your organization. So
no, it's not, because the reason why it's not is because the baseball is not responsible for doing the village's job. That's the part you're not understanding.
No, I do
Baseball should be
understand.
paying for the functioning of baseball every year, not for cleaning up the baseball field. That should be done for everybody in this community as a parks and rec. And that's what you should be doing to maintain your fields. So it's two totally separate, it's two
No,
different.
so let's back
Well, it
track.
is, but we got.
No, ma'am, please just listen.
Okay.
You're allowed to speak and I'm actually allowed to speak as well. So give me that grace. So I said that not annually. When we had our conversation, you wanted to be reimbursed for that 8,000 whatever, the additional 1,100, which I authorized because it's under my purview and the cap amount that I'm allowed to. You asked me for me to authorize the full $5,000 that I'm able to authorize, and I told you at that time I was not going to do that because I didn't think that was fiscally responsible. But I was trying to do some rough justice, if you will. And at the time I said I'll allocate the 1,100, whatever it was. But I'm not talking about moving forward in the future. I'm talking about right now. You wanted me to reimburse you that full amount. And you told me that you still wanted the money that was allocated in the line item. That's the other thing that I had an issue with. I'm not saying that was moving forward. I'm talking about current. The other issue I had, there were other questions as far as if we are going to be in possession of your equipment and you're to get the key, and if that equipment were to get lost or stolen, would you want us to reimburse that? That's not in there. So there, some of the language is vague, and those are the things that I think about, because I think in the mind of us with money. Let me say this also. We just had conversation about how we don't have money with us. The money that you're technically asking for is close to 15,000 roughly. When you consider the money for the repairs, which was little around 9,000 some change, the additional, how much is the line item, 6,000?
There will probably be about 10,000,
So
it would be
like I
about
said,
refills.
let's recap that. 8,000 some dollars,
Mhm.
another 1,100, that puts us at almost 10. Then the money,
The 1,100 was because we offered free registration.
I understand that, but what I'm
So
saying
that's
is, so
not-
I don't look at it, this is for registrations for rocks. I look at it as the overall expenditures, right? So with that being said, you're essentially requesting around $15,000 in total with the line item budget right now and what you wanted to be reimbursed for. With that being said, we just had a conversation literally minutes ago about how we do not have funding. So those were some of the questions that I had as far as if it's broken into, which is a possibility. That's not anything that's unusual. Will we be responsible to replace it? If it's consistently broken into, then do we consistently have to reimburse that? These are questions that, like I said, we're not in here, and those are real viable questions that we have to ask and that we have to adjust, because when that time comes, then there'll be all this fighting about who's responsible now. So this is for clarity purposes. That's why I'm having this discussion, and I think discussions are healthy.
Yeah.
And
So
it's
wait,
okay to
what
have
was-
different views.
What was the last thing, just, well, that's why I'm asking now, is there anything that you think that needs to go in there or something you don't?
I definitely
So what was the
don't, I
last
definitely think that we should have a cap.
Yeah,
If,
I got
if
the
this
cap.
even goes forward, because that's not my decision. The only things that I'm concerned about are things that I think should be in that memorandum that I didn't even see in your initial one, which is there a cap?
So
Or is
I
it
have-
just however much, that you say that we should reimburse, because that is the language that would, pretty much whatever expenses we have to reimburse. The other thing is you have to think of, that I think about, is long-term maintenance. So this would actually have to be something that would be an additional line item, and I say that because we would have to go out. Matt, you can probably add on to this, but I'm sure some of the stuff as far as rocks, different things that we have to purchase, we may not necessarily have it in stock. So those are additional things that we would have to pay in order to make sure that moving forward in the future that we're able to fund it. These are just things. The other thing that I wanted to add is if we do this for you, there's other organizations within this community. Are they then gonna turn around and say, well, you gave them 15,000, we want 15,000? These are real questions, things that will come up. And so those are things that we need to think about.
We agree with the security issue. I understand that that's a big question. But when you come down and you ask a question regarding the work that the village should have done, those fields, taxpayers pay for that to be done anyway. So it should not be on the baseball association to have to pay to have those fields done. And you can go do the survey with the other surrounding communities and ask them how many have MOUs with organizations that are not tied directly to the village. Just next door, just over at Creek and anywhere else. And you will realize that the responsibility in the spring and during the summer is for the village to make sure those fields are playable. We didn't ask you to decorate it. We didn't ask you to put no additional rocks or whatever down. We asked you to get the fields in playable condition. That means land cutting it, making sure that it's cut and playable. Make sure that field is turned because it's set all year long. So we asked you to turn the field. We make sure that the field is in playable position. The dugouts look pretty well, look pretty good. That's all that's what? Village property. So when you're talking about the security of our property, we get that. But every year, it is the village's responsibility to make sure those parks are playable. We should not have to spend out one penny to turn dirt. We should not spend one penny to cut grass, because that is what we already paid for. We as residents deserve that if we don't even have a baseball program.
You're correct. So let me say that.
That's the same with any sport.
This
So it
is-
won't be, anybody shouldn't be needing to have to come if the village does their job. That's,
I agree, but this
Okay.
is where we're at, right? So I'm talking about not shoulda, coulda, what in the past. I'm talking about where we're at right now with the money that's being proposed. The other thing is that different finances, different resources, and just like trustee Theo stated, trustee said that we have 5 public works workers. Let me remind you all, it's 17 miles of maintenance. And there's things that need to be addressed, improved upon, but this is the reality right now. So this is right now, I'm not saying this is next year, what our responsibilities are. I'm telling you, this is what, the reality of what we're dealing with, trying to just get over this hump as far as it goes with payment, things of that nature. Also, I wanted to ask you, Mr. Sevier, how do you feel about, as it relates to a cap on the amount of money that we would have to reimburse?
I don't have a problem with a cap on it as long as you listen, because I don't want you to say, well, we were short of staff. That's not the baseball's program. That's not our responsibility. That's not our problem. The issue is that we collect money from residents in order to have a baseball at a certain stated period of time. We have come to the village manager in the past on several occasions, early in the game, talking about these things. We get a verbal yes, and then it doesn't happen. That's the reason why we asked for the MOU that has been going on in all other communities since the beginning of time. So I just wanted to make sure that you understand that this is not directed towards you. This is directed toward the history that we've had to deal with over the last 3 years of not having our voices heard and still trying to provide quality programming for the kids that the village refuses to provide. So let's look at the two hits we're taking while we're trying to solve something for the community and stop saying, well, shorthand for staff, that's 3. It's not our problem. We wanted to have a program for the kids to keep these kids off the street. We spent the money to have these parks done, and we did that, and that is truly the work of Park and Rec. We should be reimbursed for those services in spite of this board is taking trips. This board is doing a lot of things that should not be done in terms of us not having dollars. But when we're talking about we're doing something for the kids, you want to come to us and say, "Woo, we don't have any money." Now, I don't have a problem with that if you're going to say that to that board as well. Because we have a bunch of kids versus that board. And they're spending more money on one trip than we're asking for to have a field trip.
So I say that to say, I do understand. I do understand.
Still work? Yeah. I do want to point out that, like, Robin, the reimbursement is separate than this. This is something because we should be having to do the field. We already received our reimbursement for the previous fiscal. The new budget has not been created, so that's something separate. So we're not saying we're gonna get one then. The budget has to come out, which would have that in there. We already received the previous. We wait for the new budget, where we will still be able to receive, if it's in there, our $6,000. That's separate. This is for reimbursement of having to do work that the village is supposed to be doing.
And Ms. Dilworth, I totally understand.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure those.
No, I do.
separate.
I
You
understand.
said 15,000, and it's not 15.
But in my mind, when I look at money, I look at how much we're spending in a certain area, and that's the only reason why I brought that up. If we weren't here dealing with the reimbursement issue, we wouldn't be having this conversation. So that is strictly what, I understand what you're saying. But at the same time, I'm telling you I'm reiterating what the conversation was and what was said. But those are other issues. Aside from that, there are real issues as far as the, if it's broken into, who's responsible for that, and as far as there needs to be some type of a cap.
Okay, so those things to be added, but let's just be clear that this is unheard of. This is the first time everybody is hearing that somebody could not get some work done on their baseball. This is not something that's standard. So this is like a big deal. And it's only an issue with this administration, and that's what the problem is. We've never had this issue in the prior administration, So that's back to the question of why.
Can I ask you a question,
Uh-huh.
Ms. Walker?
Uh-huh.
How long has your baseball program been going on?
I've been here since 2015 and I've been part of the baseball,
I mean, this new program.
2020.
2020, so this is something brand new, okay? So this
But
didn't
it's-
have anything to do with the prior
It
administration.
does because I was a part of that board as well.
But-
And if the prior administration, we've never had these issues. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay,
And everybody has been a part of baseball since forever. He has been a part of
I've been a part of it forever too,
So you know you ain't never had no problems with getting your field done.
but
So you can attest to that. This is the first time that anybody in this whole entire south suburbs have heard of this.
and listen,
I'm just
listen,
saying, so.
I'm not in
you need to-
disagreement with
but-
you, because those fields belong to the village of University Park, those fields should be maintained. If we have to do a contractual person, if we're short on manpower, that's fine and dandy. I am 100% in agreement that these fields need to be done, and it is our responsibility.
But okay, so we did it, so you guys don't have no problem with reimbursing our money back, you shouldn't. Like, I don't even see why we gotta come and ask you for this, so can you guys take a vote on at least reimbursing back
So,
what we did?
one thing I
Can we
would like
take
to
a vote on that?
One thing I would like to say now, if we know that we have an established budget for all the different programs, I don't think that anyone should exceed it. Now, there's some costs that you may have to, like the fields being done, I think that really needs to be, has some prior approval too, going out and exhausting the additional $8,000.
Well,
I
we wouldn't need to, that's what I'm saying.
I understand that. I understand what I'm
told me,
saying.
and that's what I was saying to you, no disrespect to you, I don't wanna listen to promises because we've been told this so much. This is the reason why we're asking for the memorandum, because you told me that Matt has the experience, we will have all of this done, it's no problem. So you gave me that guarantee that these things will be done, so we wouldn't have to be worried about this.
Let me clarify.
So we
I
don't
actually
wanna be
told
worried
you I
about
was trying to bring someone on who was versed in Parks and Recreation. It is not Mr. Stacy.
Okay.
So I want to clarify that. The other thing is, like I said, you had expressed you were disenfranchised with past experience. I don't want to, keep bringing that up because I'm trying to move forward, but I offered you that olive branch just to immediately make sure that was taken care of. You did pick up that money. You're in receipt of that money. So I am trying to work with you and I understand. Like I said, if I didn't, I would not be trying to reimburse you for anything when you say that.
I wanna also
Mr.
bring up
Mayor.
that, when you were saying that a cap, I want the cap to be agreeable. A
would like
cap
to
should be
explore.
agreeable with the village and with the baseball organization, because we also have looked at the cost of each one of those fields. So we don't want just a cap of 10,000, we know it costs so much for each one of the fields. So I just want to make sure that whatever cap it is, that we're both in agreement with that cap. And don't forget where you're going, because it's not just.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor.
And not only that, it's like, okay, we're gonna give her $1,000, but it should not have been a question. Okay, they spent the 8,000, we need to do what's right, give them back their money, period. Like, to me, that's saying, here you go, now. So I get it, but I don't understand how anybody can sit up there and not think that, and think that that's okay. Like, I don't get how you guys don't feel convicted about what you're doing.
That was money that
Mr.
came
Mayor.
out of the baseball.
Trustee Brooks, go ahead.
Mrs. Mayor, I sat here and I listened to everything that actually was just said. My position is this. When I was the athletic director for the Moni Maverick football team, we had to share that Fireman's Park with the Moni baseball team. And I was in charge of the fields, and I understood on the north end of that field, it belonged to baseball. One thing I would say is that I'm reading through really all of this, agreements from the village and agreements from baseball. And what is baffling to me is the details of everything that I'm sitting here reading. Much of what baseball is asking should already be provided. I know when I came here in 2017, it was very clear that the Park and Recs department had to be shut down due to financial reasons. I sat on that same board where we agreed that if you had a program, we would give you $6,000 as a reimbursement. If I'm not mistaken, you had to provide receipts up to $6,000, correct? Trustee Milton Payton was the advocate for that. Yes, so, right, so we were, this here, I would say, as long as I'm sitting in this seat, of course, naturally, I'm gonna preach what I know we were trying to do to reduce this damn debt. And trying to reduce the debt, we also try to keep the kids in mind. What I am little getting upset about is that I did have opportunity to sit in on one of the meetings. And usually when Trustee Brooks sit in on something, it's over with, meaning like it's not gonna be any garbage behind it. But for me to learn that the field had to be turned over by baseball, there was arguments about equipment storage, you name it. I mean, this is really getting ridiculous. Right.
What, $900 for a season, because they refused to put the baseball equipment in anywhere in the village. And I paid $900, because I had to pay storage every month for 9 months. Are you kidding me?
And see, yeah, so you hear that, and the problem I have with that is that, once again, just right next door, the reason why I was coaching for the Mavericks in the first place is because the blackball that I get in this village, when it comes from certain people who don't want me to be known, but it's too late, I'm known. Monique, that shed, when you drive down that street that's 25 miles per hour, that shed that is owned by the village, baseball can store in there, football can store in there. I don't understand. It's something's wrong with this, that I believe the 2 board members are trying to get involved, like we're trying to get an understanding. Every time we come out to the field, I hear it's gonna be done. But then I come to find out it wasn't done. So I'm looking at this, you know, Mr. Rago did, you know, he's doing his best. What I hate is that that gentleman is trying to just do the best he can, but I know he probably looking like, what the hell is going on? Because as I read through this, one thing I didn't understand, usually baseball, I know as a Maverick, you couldn't be one of my coaches. Yeah, we did our own background checks. Why are we even, and here, why are we even being bothered with who's coaching baseball in section 12, background checks? That should not even be our concern. So I think at some point, we need to come to this understanding that we need to take care of parks. I don't care about the park district and all that, you know what? That, it don't matter. We have public works. And if we were unable to meet the requests of certain things in this village, what we did is we contracted out. And like Madam Clerk just said, if there's a receipt, you bring it to us, Manager Pate, I think there was an incident with football. Manager Pate received those receipts, and the village reimbursed football for whatever the situation was. So this back and forth, let's figure this out. I think a lot that baseball is asking is standard. And I just don't think, and I heard something else, I mean, even with the term of the agreement, I wrote in my notes, the term of agreement, section 1, am I correct here? Let me just scroll down. Section 1, the term of the agreement should commence October 1st and end December 31st, 2024. don't even know if you're gonna be live in 2024.
Right, I don't think it should be a
I
thing,
don't-
I think
I
it
don't-
should just be an ongoing thing.
I
It's
just, right, I
Right.
disagree with section 1. I don't think it should be a term. I really don't. And the more I look at it, the use of the baseball facilities, I just wish at this point, asking for a dumpster in most of the municipalities next door, they're doing it for their kids, why we just ain't do it for ours? I really don't want to see another season of this, because this is just ridiculous. And if we need somebody to till, I'm just saying at this point, I think I brought it up before. You all helped me with this. I didn't know about the 70-30 sand pebble. I don't know about that. I can tell you about tall posts and how tall the grass would be for some cleats. I can tell you that. But, I think we just need to be reasonable here that, if it can't be done, we have a $6,000 reimbursement back to baseball. If it's something that the field that needs to be done, I think at this point, discussion need to be made. The other point I want to make is that it wasn't with manager Scott. So we can't beat up on her about something that somebody else was supposed to do. So what was old,
That's
I would like to know.
Well, that's why I'm bringing it back up again. So I brought
Was
it
it
up in
receipts?
March, I brought it up in April, now I'm back again in
Right.
September.
Did you have, so the key thing though,
The new village manager has the receipts, yes.
and so the receipts is about more of the field, is that?
It's all of it. That's it. The money that we use, other than that, was the money that comes to us for operational. That's why
Right.
I'm saying that's totally separate.
Right.
We have separate things we use the funds for.
Correct.
This was just nothing to do, all field.
And if I'm not mistaken, that field was not ready.
And the problem is, had Ms. Ernestine had responded, and I sent you all the email back in
You did.
March.
You did.
Saying we had a bid from PTL. He was gonna do it all for 54. We didn't jump on that. So
Right.
because we waited till 1 week prior, we had to do a rush thing and we had to get people in quickly, and that's what caused it to go up.
And if I can throw my hat in there, I was willing to come out and spray.
We was gonna do
Your
that,
grass.
because we definitely couldn't get the village to do that. That
Right.
was asking way too much. So, per Ernestine, that's unheard of, so.
Public Works did go out there and ask.
Yeah, it's. So those are the two things I'm asking for. Can we get the board?
How much is it, look, board, I really don't want to hear about this no more. Because the president has stood up at this podium, this will be the third time
On this
subject. And on top of it, it should not be where it feels like it's the board versus baseball. And I hate that feeling, because everybody is watching us and they feeling that if we want to start anything with baseball, we got to do an agreement with the village in order to get something started. And that's not the case. That's not the case. So, I mean, we
But
need to
that is
resolve.
gonna be the case. So if you're asking us to do it, we're gonna make sure it's done with all the other sports as well. So that will be the case moving forward, if that's gonna be the case for baseball.
Access to.
So, right.
Are you all aware that, like I say, you,
Letter to be signed,
okay,
memorandum to be signed, and for the $8,600 back. Those are the two things that we're asking for the board to decide on today, if possible. We will, I have down exactly what she has, I have it down, we can add those two things in right now.
did you get your $6,000, Ms. Robin?
We got that.
So it's the field that's the issue, in which I can attest the field was not ready. And how much is that?
$8,600.
$8,600, and that's for how many fields?
2, that's for 2.
3,000 a field.
Well, one needed way more work than the other, so.
Which parks was that?
Regal was a hot mess. Regal, the The grass
Oh,
is up,
yeah,
way up, and
right.
nothing had
It
been
was
done
still
on that.
wrong. In fact, that was right
We
after
had to
H&R Block,
Mhm.
right, okay.
Yeah, that one was all the way bad, but like I said, we did have one. Well, we didn't get back to him in time, so that went away.
Because I remember you let me know that one guy wanted $10,000 for it.
What, that was just for Regal. We had gotten a bunch of different estimates they want. Yeah, one wanted 14, one
Right.
said 20,
Right,
and one said 10.
right.
So when we had the one that was for 5,400 for both, we was like, oh my God, that's a steal. Let's go ahead and go with that. We presented it to Ms. Ernestine and she gave us excuse after excuse. No, we don't have it, this and that. And then it wound up nothing being done. And on May 7th, we had to rush and pay to get all this done.
Okay,
So if we can
yeah,
just,
I mean, just see.
those are the
see
two
how-
things. Oh, and so with village manager Scott, she wanted to add in there a cap on the reimbursement and then also add in there that the village would not be responsible for loss of.
Well, the cap is 6,000.
No, this is for the reimbursement. Take out the 6,000. Take it out. We're talking about if we gotta go and do.
For something
the
we should've
village's-
did.
Right, if we gotta go in the future, if the village does not have this stuff done, that's on the list by May 1st and have the fields playable, if we gotta go out and do it because it's last minute in order for us to play, because you're putting us in a bind. If we have to go out and do it, then the village reimburse us back. But we're hoping that we won't have to go through this if you guys sign a letter of
Who
memorandum.
cut the field for baseball? I mean, excuse me, football. Right now, it's the
PCL.
ETL. So we pay for that. The only thing they do is strike. I know that for a fact. And if they want to drop anything extra, I think I even asked ETL to help me out in O'Neill or something. The village, everything else falls right back. So the majority of the work is the village. We pay ETL for that.
So, let me ask you a question.
So it's minor. That's what I'm saying. Whatever is asking is minor.
So, Ms. Walker, right now, you just concerned about your reimbursement.
Yes, I'm concerned about the reimbursement and also the letter of memorandum. Yes,
You got the receipts and everything, your reimbursement, that's fine.
thank you. Yes, so if we could go ahead and acknowledge that.
From anybody on the board, if the work has been done and the receipts are proper.
Thank you.
Right, and what this Scott was saying is that she just got here. She's not gonna hand out loot. She's not gonna hand out a ton of money, so I understand her position. So as a board, because this sounds like a reimbursement issue. More tonight seems like a reimbursement issue that they don't want to go through it again. And I think we could just.
So we don't know either, because it doesn't make sense for the council.
That's what it's boiled down
Do the
to.
right, okay.
That's
If the
it.
field's prepared, and you know the field's May 1st, that's weather permitting, naturally.
Naturally, right.
So we're gonna move, I don't have a problem with the 8,000. I think the language needs to be tightened up a little bit with some dialogue, but as far as the reimbursement goes, I don't think that we'll have a problem with
So I
whatever
move
that
to
8,000.
table.
Yes, thank you.
I move to table this. No? I mean, I don't want to move it to the agenda. Don't need to move it to the agenda.
We'll hold
for further discussion.
But for the record, we want to make sure that reimbursements are properly taken care of with the matching receipts, okay?
You hear that, Ms. Robin?
Wait a minute. No, I
We
didn't.
need the memorandum of understanding because of the numerous village managers that we get in.
Right.
If another one comes in before the next year, we're going through the same process. That's why we need the documentation.
Okay.
She'll be here.
Yeah, we'll.
She'll be here.
Oh, wow,
Should be
Mr.
here.
Sevier, thank you for that vote of confidence.
Yes, yeah, but we need it.
Let me say this, so I do have the receipt, I do have that it was paid with the card, I did confirm that. And the amount is $8,600, I'm looking right at the receipt, let me say this too, yes, this has to go before the board, so it's not gonna be this amount of money. However, I do think we do need to just put in the language and tweak it, take it back to the attorney to tweak the language to add those couple points in.
And we won't kick this can down the road, we'll address this, come back. But the main thing, we want to make sure that you get your reimbursement for the money that you have already exhausted. That's only the right thing to fair.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, hold on, one second, please. I would like to get it done as soon as possible. I would like to get the reimbursement done as soon as possible.
I'm on the baseball committee also, and what I thought.
How much you charging us?
I heard you. It's good to see you smile at me for a change.
Here's what I want to say also. You should see the problems that we went through, just like Trustee Jacobs said, she paid out of her own pocket for the storage of the equipment. We need one of these units here. I don't care if it's 100 all around to your office. So we need a place to store the equipment.
You know what? We need a place to store not just baseball equipment, a variety of things. There's a lack of a lot of things going on. This isn't a mandate administration. Sometimes we make a sacrifice for the long run, but we truly understand the need for storage, quality programs, great playing fields, and everything else. There's no argument with that whatsoever. All right?
I have one question.
Yeah.
Clarification. Is the board, does the board want to, and I agree with Trustee Brooks, I would prefer no agreement, to be quite honest, because I think this probably could be better handled.
With good understanding.
But the history, it hasn't been that way, so I understand. So I'm trying to, know those two, but, so does the village want to take the first crack at maintaining the fields, and if they don't, then the baseball organization would be entitled to reimbursement.
I think maybe contracting it out would be the best thing.
Yes, yes. I will say this. Yes, if we're not, and which I personally don't believe we will be hiring more personnel. I believe that we need to go through the 3 bids to handle it.
Qualified proposal, let somebody else be there.
To do it. Right.
Can't do it. That 30-70 mix is what threw them off. They were out there helping with the facility. When they got out there on that field, they found out that it was the 70-30 max requirement, and there was no one in public works that knew how to do that. They did the best they
So
could.
that's the.
Okay.
And that's what we understand.
That makes sense.
That's what we're saying. Go ahead and just put somebody, if the village don't.
Okay, that makes sense.
It makes all sense. Same thing we want White Happy to do with the metro station. Exact same thing.
Right. I mean, at this point, the staffing, the things that we're doing right now is that more than likely we're gonna have to bid it out. And that way, the village knows.
Right.
The village knows where the money is going.
Yes.
And that way we ain't gotta do all of this, because at the end of the day, to me, it seems like at the end of the day, storage and reimbursement is the issue. The storage, and the village, to me, what's wrong with, like what we got right here, that, container? We can put the container out there, baseball will have a key.
We gotta find storage somewhere.
Because the other, that's what the Creek Bulldogs do, am I not mistaken? The Creek Bulldogs do it, the Mooney Mavericks just store it in a shed.
That's their park thing, that storage thing.
They put their football equipment in a container. So I think we can simplify, to try to avoid, because I was always told from a judge, if you can always settle it before it gets to me, settle it. And before it gets to the board, let's settle this before it comes back to us. Meaning that the field needs to be done, that we do the 3 bids, to make sure the field is complete, and also put some type of container out there for you all, instead of trustee Jenkins Bell spending $900 for storage. That should not be happening. So my point is that if everyone else is doing it, we can do it. Especially if the two of us have experienced it from other organizations with dealing with youth. You all have done it as well and had your kids in the same type of program. So I think it needs to be done that way.
And that storage container would probably be needed at Palmer Park. Because basically football and baseball could use that one. We are utilizing storage. We have storage at Craig Park and we have storage at River Farm, which is that garage. So, well, it's not, but if it just could be
Right.
just updated.
Listen,
but-
it's obvious that there's a storage problem. I think collectively we can come up with a solution. We know it's a problem, there's this find a solution for it, just make sure that things are stored properly so everyone can have the utilization of it, because it's been a problem for some time now. It's not a new problem.
So wait a minute, and so the memorandum, so I just need to update that verbiage and get it to.
Just work with
Margo?
Margo and go get the.
And when are
tweak
we
the
gonna
language.
get?
So right now, we're gonna get you your money, okay?
Okay.
All right, thank you. All right. Okay, next item on this agenda, discussion 51D, discussion terminating contract with True Green and entering into a contract with Greenfield Lawn Care. Let's start the conversation. Trustee Brooks.
So to me, this is very simple. Greenfield's lawn does something that's very irrelevant, and that is they cut and they treat the grass. There's not too many that do that, and I can attest that I have seen the work. I looked at this bill with True Green, and we're pushing out. First of all, we're budgeting. Our budget each year for lawn service was at $12,000. Looking at this, we can save $5,600 with this termination of this contract, and that's my opinion. Budget. This is common sense.
So I've got a question first of all. Manager, someone help us out and give us all clarity. How did we get into an agreement with True Green, period?
Okay, just to give some background, I asked that this be placed on the agenda, because I'm coming in, I'm starting to review things, look at different contracts, things of that nature. It came across my desk by accident, actually. I saw, an invoice for True Green. Called, contacted True Green, actually the director, Matthew Stacy, called and found out that someone that was in Public Works had signed a contract for several years with True Green. I actually have that contract with their signature. They were not authorized to sign that. Like I said, without going into the past, it was someone who was a former employee and they did sign it. I do have that contract. It came directly from True Green. I have the email directly from them and they signed a multi-year contract. So in reviewing that, I immediately realized that as I started pulling invoices, that you're right, trustee, it was quite expensive. And then I had subsequent conversation with Mr. Paul. Please forgive me if I don't pronounce your last name correctly. Oleg. So I had conversation with him, and he came to me with a proposal for some of the lawn care. He even, I need to say this, extended to do additional care at no cost. So it was a little bit out of my authorization. Once again, I understand that we did not go out for a bid. I did not go out for a bid. However, as you stated, the things that he's done for the village, and also the fact that he offered to treat additional areas, and I have that in writing from him at no cost to the village. I kind of think this is a no-brainer. Like you said, it's saving us thousands of dollars. These are things that I'm gonna be reviewing, just trying to find additional money. But that's something that came up. Yes, ma'am, additional areas. Mr. Okay, so I say that to say.
Ms. Moore, let her finish, Ms. Morgan, please. Ms. Morgan, let her finish, please don't interrupt.
So I wanted to bring this before the board because I thought that it was important, but, I do want to terminate that contract, and that's the reason why I want to terminate it. He really wasn't even authorized to sign that agreement.
Okay, thank you for pointing this way, Mayor. So, one question, who was the village manager when he signed that contract?
I believe it was, the former administrator.
Ernestine Beck?
Yes.
Okay, so, what was the question? I heard somebody say something over there. According to what I've seen, it right, because I felt because I felt the discussion. Well, he won't be here to defend himself, but I know I said as a trustee that we need to spray. So if we don't want to, that's why I say, Ms. Scott, this was before you, and I don't want to go further, but I know I said we need to spray. And apparently that I don't remember it being a multi-year, but
I believe it was 3 years at least.
okay. And if I'm not mistaken, it was one of those situations where it's a situation where someone is not here, it don't matter, it's irrelevant. Exactly. All I know is this was very short and simple. We could have moved on. He does a good job. Over. Let's put it on. I want to put it on. Yeah, so we can go. It's 10:07.
Okay, that's moving forward. We're moving forward with Greenfields. We're terminating the contract, terminating True Green and moving forward. with Greenfield, awesome. We'll move this to the next agenda for a week from today, actually. Yes. All right. Item 5-1, a discussion and ordinance moving code enforcement from under the purview of the fire department to the village manager. Open discussion. Dave, you had
No,
something?
I'm sorry, Mayor, I requested that be pulled.
Oh, you did? Okay. So that is going to be.
And I'll explain my reason being just quickly, so there's no conspiracy theories. I'm the village manager, and technically I'm on the code enforcement. There was some conversation. Thank you, Mr. Sevier, for that vote of confidence for that one item. So I say that, there was conversation when I first came in, regarding some stuff, and someone from the fire department complained there was a lack of communication with the inspectors, and so I started delving into that, and I realized that, that they're right in the fire department, so there shouldn't be any type of communication issue. And I felt that, so I said, well, I'll handle that, but then I ended up realizing, I'm over the code enforcement anyway, so there's no need for that. So that's the reason why I asked for it to be pulled.
All right, thank you, David. Thank you for letting her off the hook. The next one should be, this is Mrs. Morgan's baby. 5F1F, discussion to segregate and rename special events fund to project fund.
All right, so let me say this. I did put this on the agenda as well, and I'm gonna explain why. When I came here, I heard repeatedly from many people in the community that there was a quote unquote slush fund, and that the mayor had a fund for the Mo's account for special events totaling $2 million. I heard this repeatedly. So I did ask Ms. Kelly, Cecilia Kelly, for some back information. I asked her to look at the previous budget, and I started going through it line by line. I thought it was very misleading, the title of Special Events Fund, and I can see why people got that misconstrued. Let me say this, there's a couple things I want to address. I heard that Mrs. Rudez was named, and I'm being real transparent, so I'm going to tell you the things that I heard. That Mrs. Rudez's name was on the account, you know, the statements, that this money was for the special events fund. And when I started looking in the monies, it was actually the contrary. So I wanted to give a breakdown. Also, I thought that a more aptly appropriate name would be, from what I looked at and when I spoke with Ms. Kelly about what that account was used for, I thought of the Community Development Project Fund. Now, I'm just presenting this. They can come up with a different name. It makes me no difference. But I think that it should be separate and it should look separate. It is very misleading when it says Special Events Fund. So in that money, there is approximately $2,145,972.32. What is that comprised of? ARPA money in the form of $468,607.50. There's also MFT funds in the amount of $313,219.44. It accrues roughly, of course, it changes when the money was deposited, you know, whatever, depending on the amount of interest, but it's approximately $1,000 a year in interest, roughly, not to the dollar. There also was miscellaneous funds that go back to permit fees and things like that. So when they've done projects, they have put money in there. Now, what I didn't agree with was things should be segregated. ARPA funds should not be commingled with MFT. Also, there was Amazon money, $1 million. When I asked Ms. Kelly why that money was in there, she said that, so this is my understanding, there was things that were spent, equipment, whatnot, with that Amazon money. That Amazon money, because the money was taken out of the general fund, it never got put in the general fund. I looked at it. I personally looked at the statements. Mrs. Ruda's name is not on there. I asked for past statements, so if money was moved, that money would show a deficit. It was like a bank account. So there was no money that was taken. It's accrued interest. The ARPA funding has not been spent. We're also getting another allocation of ARPA money coming up, FYI. So that then will bring us to roughly $900,000. So the ARPA funding has not been spent. The Amazon money was not transferred properly. The MFT fund should be segregated, the yearly interest and the miscellaneous. So I put this on there because I think that it should be renamed. It was very misleading, the title. I can't keep going back. So I don't know who named it that. But moving forward, I feel that it should be named something that is more appropriate to the things that it's for now. What it's not going to be used for is for special events. This is for things of more on a capital improvement project, but it's not really capital money, right? So this is going to be used for projects as it pertains to Abbott and Amherst, different things that can be used. MFT funds can be used to cut trees on a street like Abbott and Amherst where it's being repaid. So those are some of the plans that I have for that funding. Also, so you're aware, ARPA funding can be used for payroll. There's certain things that it can and cannot be used for. So I plan on using that. There's different ideas that I have that I'm going to be working on as a village manager as it relates to payroll, as it relates to clocking in and out, things like that. So those are the things that I'm looking into.
Okay. So one second, Mr. Sevier was first, then Ms. Lawson, then Ms. Morgan. Then Ms. Turner.
That was a good job, great explanation. Appreciate that explanation, actually. But the issue that I'm running into is the renaming of the Moss account.
It's not the Moss account.
Special events account. The renaming of the special events account. From an accounting standpoint, you just cannot rename an account on the GL. What you can do is you can create new accounts. You can create the new ones, project funds, you call them project fund for whatever. Or no. We do fund accounting. So since we do fund accounting here, if you're gonna break up that account, you might as well go ahead and break it up correctly.
Yes, we are gonna break it up,
So if
correctly.
you're gonna break it up, create a project fund for Aqua, income statement and an expense account for Aqua, so that you can track both. A project fund.
This money is not gonna be used for Aqua.
Okay, let me go back. I use MFT because I can't get the word out right now, so somebody. We'll use that, that's the three that you was talking about, this in mind. The MFT, create a income account for MFT, separate fund, not a complete fund, but at least a revenue account and an expense account. The money that's in that special event account, transfer the amount out of the special events account to the MFT fund. Transfer the money out of that special event account to the other account, so we can have a good general ledger track. Because if you change it, it's gonna wipe out the old name, and account, auditor coming in won't be able to find it. So if somebody was coming in looking for that specific account, because you changed the name, which you should not use after 7 years, on a GL with no activity after 3.
That's right.
So therefore, you should create a new account and make the transfers into those individual accounts as individual funds. Or if you really want to do it right, you create a fund for each one of those. We used to have an MFT fund in the past. So that would be the correct way to do it. But the fastest way to do it is to do your revenue and expense account for each one of those titles you were talking about. And that will at least allow some tracking in case someone is looking for those dollars from the time they came in to the time they got exhausted. But just changing the name on the account, no.
I'm not just changing the name. Like I said, we're gonna segregate the money properly. MFT funds cannot be commingled with any other funds. So I'm very aware of that. Also, I'm working with John Kasparic in order to facilitate this. So everything will be done properly.
Okay, one second, it was Ms. Lawson, then it was Ms. Morgan, then Ms. Dilworth. Come now, this is Vanessa, please.
My question is, if there is no money, you're gonna use this ARPA money to pay the payroll?
Yes, so let me explain this. There are certain things you can and cannot do with ARPA money. It's very strict. One of the only things that you can use for it is payroll. So a lot of municipalities struggle when it comes tax time and they're getting taxes in, and we're always short. Typically, it's around December. So to make sure that we're able to keep running things smoothly, yes, I will make sure that that money's set aside so that we can close the gap. I'm reallocating, looking at money, how it's segregated. And that $1 million, if that goes into the general fund, that will help bridge some of the monies that is needed for things. That money should have been put back in the general fund since it was taken out of the general fund. We have receipts to show expenditures for Amazon money, but it was never reconciled properly.
So what I'm trying to understand is we don't have any money, you're gonna have to pay the payroll out of the ARPA money, but you're still gonna take all these trips and everything because you don't have any money.
So let me be clear. I didn't say we didn't have any money. You said that. I'm telling you that the money for Amazon was $1 million. It was not put in the general fund. So I'm not sure how you got, we have no money when I just said that we're gonna take the $1 million and allocate it back, pay back the general fund. That's what I said. I didn't say that we're broke. I didn't say that we don't have any money. I just said we do have money that was not properly reconciled.
So if we do have money, why can't you pay the payroll out of the money we have? Why do you have to then go?
That's
back
not
to
gonna run. So ARPA money can only be used for certain things. I can't decide I'm not gonna use ARPA money for this, I'm gonna use it for that. You know what's gonna happen? They're gonna say, give us our money back. I will provide you with the list. You can actually go online. It's federal. There's only certain things you can spend the money for. One of the main things they said was payroll. And one of the issues during COVID was police and fire specifically. Let me keep it 100 with you. That is one of the biggest, heftiest payrolls is police and fire. Also with the overtime. So a lot of times when you had to apply for this ARPA funding, you had to state what that money was gonna be used for prior to you receiving the money. I did this in another town. And I put payroll. Because that is the easiest way that you can prove and shore up funding, is that you just had to submit payroll. So police and fire, depending on the municipality, might run you $500,000 a month. It's very expensive. So a lot of municipalities set up front, it's gonna be used for payroll. Payroll is a big issue during COVID. That's why when they released this COVID money, it had the intention of assisting with payroll because they understood that not only were people struggling to make payroll, they understood that there was a decrease in sales tax. There was an immediate decrease in people paying their property taxes because people were afraid and insecure. Sometimes people didn't necessarily lose their jobs, but they were afraid of the foreshadowing of what may have come. So people stopped paying their property taxes. So the county, the money came down through the feds, it came down through pass-through. When I say pass-through, meaning the money doesn't come directly through the feds. It came through, usually it was through the county. So with that being said, a lot of municipalities, and I did check with Ms. E, she did report payroll. So that's what I'm using it for. Those are the plans that I have to use it for. When we have extra money, I just don't think that it is fiscally responsible to say I'm going to use that money for something and just blow it in one direction. I'm not saying that that money is going to go out the door in one chunk. We may use 50,000 at a time, 100, but it will be used for payroll and it will be properly reconciled and it will show where the money was spent. Moving forward in the budget that's expended, it will be reconciled. Mr. Sevier, don't leave.
Good night.
So I wanted to be clear about that and transparency, I can show you the past paperwork that was filed. And I invite you to go online, don't take it from me. Look on the county's website, look on Cook County, look on Will County, see what you're able to spend it on. It's not a free for all.
Mrs. Morgan? You good? You look like you're good right now.
There's an ARPA letter that came to this bill. And it states that, number of things that the money could be spent on was mainly for the residents. If there were,
You could use it for programming, but once again, let me circle back to this.
People that have, water has been turned off. And I've been trying to encourage them to start asking for that ARPA money.
So, yes, so one of the things that was discussed is when the second round of ARPA funding comes, there was discussion about doing an amnesty program. I will say that it wasn't just for water, it also had to deal with sidewalks. But the difference, I like to announce things as they're getting done. I like to not talk about it, I like to be about it. So I'm not gonna sit up and make announcements until I put it together and it's rolled out. But you're more than welcome anytime. I've met with you several times and I will meet with you several more times. You're more than welcome to come to my office. Like I said, I can actually show you the money that was applied for, and I can actually show you the paperwork that was submitted to ARPA.
Let's stop this right now. You have seen me 3 times in your life.
Several, yes, 3.
The library, in your office, and then Zoom committee.
And you know, ma'am, you came to my office with Mr. Box, Greg Box, no ma'am, you sat in.
The Zoom committee, not if there were Mr. Box and myself.
So I had a meeting where you were in my office. Ms. Dilworth, would you like to chime in?
I just found the one that I was with.
Right, so I actually, it wasn't a Zoom meeting, I was actually in a meeting with her. Right, and I met with you when I first came in, but that's neither here nor there. Like I said, I'll meet with you again. I do not know you. I actually just met you the first week I got in, the week of July 20th. However, I do not exaggerate at all. But like I said, regardless to whatever, my door is open. I have an open door policy.
Oh, this lady keeps coming here and she keeps coming over here and she keeps calling me. The street stop.
So once again, ma'am,
All right.
my door is open. Thank you.
Mrs. Dilworth,
So I just wanted to reiterate what David was saying, that we feel that it should be accounts created, fund accounts created, instead of just creating a whole new one.
And there will
They
be,
should have their own, like, ARPA.
but we're not gonna have 77 accounts.
No,
Let me
not-
say
They
that.
don't have to have 77.
There were 77 accounts at one point.
But that was based off of, you're saying 77 accounts, but that's because they didn't do what they needed to do here at the village. Because the bank had to create these accounts because they could not get in contact with anybody here to figure out where to put the money. So that's why we have 77 accounts. But I just want to make sure that you're saying that these are going into their accounts, and then also to bring up that, yes, like you're saying, ARPA funds can be used for other things. You were saying just payroll, we're confused because there are things that can be used for the community, for the businesses as well. And there are other things that's going on with people with their water. So I know you said that next group is gonna be used for, but we've had this 468,000 for over almost a year. And it has not been done anything, and people have been suffering with different issues for this entire year. So I understand you're saying for payroll, but you also said that there's $1 million sitting there from Amazon. They already used the money from general funds. You're gonna put it back, use that money to pay the payroll. Right. And offer the services for the.
So there's other infrastructure. I heard you all earlier. You said you needed infrastructure, correct? There's infrastructure issues. Do you disagree with that?
I disagree with you.
Okay, there's infrastructure issues that I have to come up with the money for and to find funding. So that is what I'm in the process of doing. Let me say this also. I would like to be allowed the same grace. Just got here. So I do have ideas. At the end of the day, this has to be voted on.
Mrs. E, the manager speaking, Mrs. E, please let the manager speak, there's too many conversations going on.
So, but at any rate, I would say this, that I've met with many of you. I have no issue with meeting you all again. I'm open to ideas. But like I said,
I couldn't remember what I wanted, because I was stunned. How about that, 174,000 that was taken from, what you call it? Especially there.
so you can come to my office, we can go through whatever you want, you know.
I like people to hear.
So I have been very open and transparent during this meeting, and like, so you're asking me, let me say this. I just got here, so you're asking me questions that you want me to rattle off. So once again, I'm telling you, you're more than welcome to set up an appointment. If you don't, that's fine also. There's such a thing called email, you can also FOIA things. But you're at, so ma'am, please.
Yeah, let's move on. Let's move on.
I don't, so if you email
I
me
got Ms.
something,
Hurd. Finish your manager.
there's things that you will email me that I'm not gonna respond to, especially when you're tagging every single media outlet. Listen, I don't get down like that. I'm a professional and I'm gonna remain as such. And if there's certain emails, or I feel that I'm being attacked, or I feel as though you're asking me or putting me in a certain situation, no, I'm not gonna respond, because it's not productive. So I'm not gonna go back and forth with you. Sometimes you tend to be argumentative, with all due respect, and I'm not gonna go back and forth because I have a lot of work to do.
Okay, let's move forward, guys. Mrs. Hurd had a question regarding this item.
Yes, I just have a.
Go ahead, Mrs.
I just have a
Sanders.
couple things. One is, I think it's we name it as renaming that might have given the wrong impression. You're really gonna reallocate to other areas, okay? Are you not gonna have a special event, a line item anymore?
There will not be a special events fund.
Okay.
There will not be a special events fund.
Okay.
Now, what I'm saying is some of the money will be reallocated when there's projects. That money will be put in there. It's gonna be the community project fund, whatever the name is. It doesn't make a difference to me. It's that I need the money segregated
I
properly.
agree. We
on the same page there. Now, the next question I have is the money that was from Amazon, was that TIF money? And where would that go? The million, just gonna go to general fund or was that TIF?
You cannot mingle to money. You
Say
can't do
what?
that. You can't put, I'm not gonna mix TIF money with whatever money you send.
Okay, what was the money from Amazon, the million?
It was used to purchase equipment, from my understanding. It was prior to me getting here, but I have gotten receipts from the young lady who deals with the accounts. And there was equipment and things like that that was purchased, but it was purchased and taken out of the general fund, but it was never reconciled. So that money is owed to the general
So
fund.
then Amazon reimbursed
Wait,
for
let's,
the purchase.
let me, hold one second. Let's be clear. Amazon did not fund us the money, okay? It was for the Amazon project, okay? There's a misnomer that says that Amazon funded this money. It did not come from the project. It came from the developer. It did not come from Amazon. It came from the developer, okay? Regarding the Amazon project to get equipment to serve that area, which was in TIP, which was squad cars and ambulances. All right, so for clarity, so the money did not come directly from Amazon.
It was a loan.
Okay,
Yes,
that's
and-
our point, is that the
Yes,
money that we got to pay back.
But not from Amazon. Not from Amazon.
Yeah,
And
it
all-
was not from Amazon. It was a loan from the developer inside the deal.
Yes.
And is that
And
money
all-
we still have to pay back?
But listen,
Yes,
so,
7%.
so listen, so when the money is
Yep.
being paid back, it is not being paid back out the general fund. Just for a short minimum, history check. Customarily, when the village has done redevelopment agreement, it has given up 100% of the increment to the developers. This is the first time when we bought into the Amazon, it's a 75-25. 75 for Amazon, 25 for the village. So when the repayment comes back, it is paid back out of the increment, out of the 25% increment, out of that tip. That's how the money is supposed to be paid back, sir, not out of the general fund.
Right, but if it's
Just
going
had
to
to-
the general
Right,
fund.
right.
This had to bring the 75%, right?
That was the fact.
I just heard that.
I still was at-
The money was going to general fund.
Yeah.
So
So,
then it's gonna come out the general fund where we have to pay.
so repayment is actually paid back out of the 25% increment out of that tip.
Along.
That's, the $1 million was the $1 million impact fee at the 7%.
Right.
We're supposed to be paid back from the contract in 3 years. I think it was 3 to 4 years. That's what the Amazon contract said.
The payback is real, but it's where the payback comes from is also as authentic as well. It comes out of the 25% increment.
But the
That-
25% increment doesn't happen to 20 years from now. That payment.
No. When the tip closed, that's when all the allocations will close.
That's what
Then
I'm
that's
talking
when
about.
the tax revival.
Close in 20
Yeah,
years.
tip payments on the annual basis. Okay? There are tip payments on the annual basis, not, we don't wait till the 23-year expiration. And actually, Amazon doesn't even have a 23-year tip, because I think collectively as a board, we did 17 years, if I'm not mistaken.
No.
I'm just.
Yes.
No,
I'm just referring to the
Well,
impact.
no, don't lie, no.
I'm just
How
referring to
many
the
years?
impact.
So what's the truth?
How
Yeah.
many years?
Get some clarity.
Huh?
How many years?
You just said 23? Right. Yeah, can I be recognized for, Ms. Scott?
Yes.
I want to, Ms. Scott, thank you for your explanation about this fund. I would just ask if, I don't know if you had all that written down on the paper, or could I get, before I vote on this, could I get the bank statement for that for the past 24 months, and I asked the account be redacted. The only thing that shows is the last 4 digits, respectfully. Look,
Absolutely.
she's transparent.
Yes.
And I would say everything I have asked for, Ms. Scott has delivered. So,
Well, can you ask her for my, for you? I'm a big, call up at home. I've been here every year.
it's late, everybody's tired.
7, 9, 22.
4
I just
years.
want to know what the balance of the,